Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about should you sell your house or rent it in retirement, and also we're going to be sharing our Swedish death cleaning experience.
Yeah, we had quite an experience when we decided to go on this journey because we had a pretty sizable house in Georgia and it was full of all of our stuff that we'd accumulated over 25 years and just decided to get rid of basically everything. And so we're going to talk about why we made those decisions, whether they worked out, and what we would do if we did it all over again. And the first question you have to answer is, are you going to sell your house, or are you going to try to rent your house out and try to keep your house? And I think this really comes down to people who are either unsure what they're going to do, or if they think that their house is going to go up in value. But we looked at it kind of from a factual standpoint and made a decision based on that.
Exactly. I mean, one of the very first things going in, we started thinking, we can't keep this house anyways. Even if you want to keep a residence, this one doesn't make any sense because it's a huge house for just two people. It was senseless. You know, you're wasting electricity and, you know, all that money on all of those, keeping up with this big, huge house for absolutely no reason if you just got two people in there.
Yeah, we realized that even if we went away for a few years and came back, we were going to want a different house anyway. But even if you're not in that situation, the math really works out that it is better to just sell your house and put all the money that you had in your house, all the equity from your house, into the stock market, rather than keep your house and try to see how much your house will go up in value during those few years. Because the other problem with it is, if you are renting out your house, it brings on a whole host of problems for you.
So many problems. First of all, you have to, let's just deal with the house itself. So let's talk about the house. You got probably HOA you have to deal with on a regular basis, plus all of the issues that can happen. Your, AC unit can go out. You could get some big plumbing problem happening. Some infestation of some animal or something. There's so many of those things. And then on top of that, you have to really trust who is renting this home, because they can destroy it in a heartbeat. You hear, horror stories all the time of people renting their beautiful dream homes to somebody, and then they turn the thing into an absolute shambles and it's a disaster. So it's really important to kind of understand that part of it, and that huge investment of really kind of emotional energy, which I think is not worth it. Not for me, not for us.
It's very freeing to not have the house anymore. And the finances of it work out too. We're going to put up this chart here. This is from Long-Term Trends. This is a chart of the S&P 500, which is basically the VOO stock that we talk about, versus the home price index over the last 50 years in our lifetime. And you can see here that the red line is the stock market and the black line is home prices. So for most of the first part of our life, up until about 1995, the stock market and home prices tracked each other almost identically, which is kind of amazing. But in the last 25 years, you can see the red line, which is the stock market, has well outperformed housing. So if you left all your equity in your house over the last 25 years, you would have much less money than if you put your money into the stock market. So that, along with the fact that it's just way easier to own a stock than it is to own a house. You don't have to do anything to own a stock. You just buy it and then you never think about it.
And look away.
Yeah, if you own a house, you have so many things to worry about. But it really doesn't make sense to keep your house, except for maybe some very specialized situations. So we decided we're just going to sell our house, take the money, put it into the stock market, and that's what we did. And it's worked out great, perfectly, have no regrets.
Yeah.
About doing that, right?
Absolutely no regrets. At no point have we ever said, oh, I wish we had kept the house. 0 times in, almost 6 years doing this. Not once have we ever thought that. It's really astonishing when you look at it compared to the stock market. It just really makes a huge, huge difference in your thought process when you see it right there in black and white. Wow, the housing isn't really going to go up that much in comparison to if you take that money and put it into the stock market. You're really going to be looking pretty good in the long term.
So the second question then is, should you sell everything or should you put some of it in storage?
And this is another one that we learned. So we went into this with the thought process of, you know, the cleaning process, Swedish death cleaning, and kind of getting rid of everything. And we did have some things left over, and we just couldn't make a decision on those things because we hadn't fully decided if we were going to be gone forever or if we were going to come back and, you know, just buy a smaller place. So we thought we'll hang on to a few things, and so we did put them in storage, and that ended up being a bad decision.
Yeah, it was a real bad decision because 2 years later we had spent $3,600 on storage, and the value of the contents of the storage unit were probably $1,000.
Yep.
So, you know, it ended up being that we basically ended up giving away almost everything in the storage just to get it empty so we could stop paying the $150 a month. So we had things like our golf clubs, and I think we had a bed in there, and just things that we really couldn't. I had some tripods, just things that couldn't take with us, that didn't want to get rid of, some collectibles. At the end of the day, it was a bad decision because we ended up having to give it away anyway, because we realized if we keep it another 3 years, we're going to be spending $5,000 to store this stuff that's only worth $1,000. So you just want to make that decision right away. Sell everything. Get rid of it. You can always buy that stuff back. We could have bought back more golf clubs. I think we even put a TV in there. TVs get cheaper like by the day, so we could have just bought all that back. Do that. Just sell everything. Keep a small box at a family or friend's house of your replaceables, but do not get a storage unit.
Yeah, and I think in those 2 years, we went to the storage unit, I think, just the 2 times. So it's not like we were going back and using anything that was there or needed anything immediately that was in there. In those 2 years, we only went, let's say, once a year. That's not really a good reason to keep something around. So it was time to really make, you know, that change and just go ahead and completely release all of it. Plus, we decided that we weren't going to, you know, buy a smaller place. We were just going to stay on the road indefinitely, and that made it an even easier decision to get rid of the things, because the things that we had saved in the storage unit were some of the things that, you know, like kitchen items that we were to get us started in the next place, and our bed, and just a few things like that that we wanted to start with in the next place. But because we weren't going to do that, what's the point of keeping that stuff? You know, pay to keep something that isn't really worth anything.
Yeah, so there's a couple questions here now. How do I actually do that? How do you go from having all this stuff to get rid of everything? Couple ways you can do it. First one is just to pay someone to do it. That's kind of expensive, and they're not probably going to do it the way you would want. So I don't really like that idea. The second one is to do what we did, which is the Swedish death cleaning. And I know that sounds kind of crazy, but what it basically means is to think about what's going to happen when you die. Someone is going to have to go through, usually your kids or a family member, and get rid of all your stuff after you're gone. And why put them through that? Why not just get rid of the stuff now that no one's going to want or no one's going to use? And not only that, you'll get rid of it, you'll have less stress over you, you'll get some money for it. So that's what we did, and it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really such a good feeling to go through the Swedish death cleaning process, because it made a lot of sense to us when you think about it. It's like, I don't want, you know, the kids to have to deal with this whole mess of hanging on to all these things, and oh, I might like this, I might like that, I might use this in the future. Just get rid of it. Don't save it because you think your kids want it. Think about, you know, anything that you got maybe from family or whatever, and maybe you don't want to hang on to it. Maybe you want to pass it on to another family member that may be able to actually use it, as opposed to throwing it into a, you know, storage unit or having somebody hang on to it. It's so important to just go ahead and do that Swedish death cleaning process and get everything cleared out so that you have a better kind of outlook for your plan for retirement.
So here's the process that we used. We broke everything we owned down into 5 or 6 categories. First category was we went through the house and we picked up everything that was unused, that stuff that we hadn't used in more than a year. And so that's going to be clothes we haven't worn, things we haven't done, used, kitchen appliances we haven't used, whatever. Did a yard sale with those and got rid of basically everything in the course of a couple of days. And whatever stuff that was left that wasn't very valuable after that yard sale, we just donated it because we weren't putting it back in the house. Then the second thing we did was we went through and got all of the expensive stuff, like the stuff that was worth money that we weren't going to take
hundreds of dollars
with us. Like I had a desktop computer and I had a really big monitor, stuff like that. Expensive stuff that wasn't necessary to live is what I should say. That we didn't need to live until we left the house. So with that kind of stuff we put on eBay or Facebook Marketplace. Just kind of slowly sold it off because we didn't want to take pennies on the dollar on my camera lenses. We knew we could get good money for them. And it took us about a month to do that,
Yeah, and it's actually, I mean, this is work to do this. It's a lot of work because it did take a lot of effort, especially once we got to some of those, like the expensive stuff. Some of it we sold, to companies, like camera equipment, where they buy used equipment and you're packaging things up and shipping them. So you're going to the post office, you're getting, boxes and labels and just getting all that stuff ready to send out. Or like even if you do Facebook Marketplace, you're driving somewhere, meeting someone and doing that exchange. So it does take a bit of work. It's not that this is like, super easy, but this is a great process.
Then the next thing we did was we categorized everything that was left, and we asked our kids, and we put them on WhatsApp, and we said, what of the stuff do you want that's yours, and what of the stuff that is ours do you want? So instead of putting it in storage and just keeping it there for them for the next 30 years, we just said, if you want it, we're giving it to you now. If you don't want it, we're getting rid of it. So what do you want? And they told us. We packed it all up in a box and shipped it to them, and they now have whatever it is that they said of ours that they wanted.
What they chose.
So then we don't feel bad about getting rid of anything else because they didn't want it. The next category was just that stuff, either sentimental or just stuff that we need for legal purposes that we have to have. So, like your birth certificate. We kept that. We boxed it up in a pretty small box.
Just one of those like office boxes with files.
And gave that to a family member just to keep at their house. So that was pretty easy. The next thing that we did was we put our house on the market. And when we put our house on the market, we put in the listing, willing to sell any and all furniture in your offer. So make us an offer on the refrigerator, make us an offer on the beds, on the couches.
TVs.
Put that into your offer, we'll sell you whatever it is you want. And I think they bought quite a bit of stuff with the house once we ended up selling it.
They did. It was really nice that they bought all of the appliances, so we didn't have to mess with any of those, which was good because they were all really nice high-end items. The other thing they bought like some of the furniture from the living room, which was great. We didn't have to mess around with moving the couch. And then they bought some of the furniture from a couple of the bedrooms upstairs, so that was really nice also. And I think they bought maybe one TV also. So they took quite a big load off of our hands that we could use up until the very last day. And we didn't have to hassle with having to, sell those bigger high-ticket items, especially ones that you can't ship.
Yeah, you want to get rid of as much with your house as you can, because at this point then, you've sold your house and you got like that 30-day window before you move out, the closing. And so now you have to get rid of everything that's essential, but you can't take with you. So you need it to live, but you can't take with you. You got to wait until about the last week to get rid of that stuff. And so we did that. We were getting rid of the desk that my computer was on. We got rid of our car. We ended up just not hassling. We took it to one of the places where you can just get an offer for your car. They gave us a pretty good offer, and we took that, And that was about with 4 days to go before the closing. Then we rented a car, and we had sold I remember sitting in our house, and all that was left in it was my computer and my desk. All that was left in the entire house, except for like the fridge and a couple beds and stuff.
And the things that were staying.
But of our stuff, that was all that was left. And then there was a pile of stuff in the garage that was the donate pile. And so we finally found someone to buy the computer. We gave the desk to a neighbor, and we just started driving the pile in the garage of the donate stuff to the donation place. And then we were done because we had sold our car, we rented a rental car, went to the closing, closed on the house, and we said, we're out of here. We drove to Florida, turned in the rental car, and got on a cruise with just our backpacks and our suitcases. And we haven't looked back since.
Yeah, it was kind of really surreal but freeing all at once when you walked out of that closing, and it was like we're not even driving our own car. And we just get down to Florida, hopped on the cruise ship, and I don't think I've ever had as much fun on a vacation or a trip as we did on that one, because it was our first one with nothing. And our kids out of the home. They were both in college, and it was just such a great feeling and experience that you didn't have to worry about anything. It was all gone. You signed on that last signature at the closing, and it was over. You didn't have to think about, you know, any more utility bills, any more problems, you know, air conditioning going out, HOA, all that kind of stuff. Or if you have renters, nothing to worry about. It was all gone.
Yeah, the one thing I didn't start worrying about though was you open up your bank account, and because you're not, usually when you close on your house, you buy another one the same day and they just move the money. But in this case, they don't. They just put all the money in your bank account. So you open up your bank account, and there's like tons and tons of money in there in your actual bank account.
You're like, ooh, that's too much in there.
So I was like, I got to start figuring out how to move this money into the stock market pretty quickly. And so I remember on that cruise, we spent a lot of time looking at how we were going to do that. So maybe we'll make a video on how we eventually moved all of that money into the market. We didn't do it all in one day, because we didn't think that was a wise way to do it. But that is the thing. You start thinking, how do you get that in there? And once we had that all situated, it was very, very freeing after that.
Yeah, for sure. So hopefully this helps you kind of make a decision or push you in one way or the other. Hopefully we're pushing you more into the same thing we did, because we think it's really just the better thing to do. But if you have questions, guys, go ahead and leave those down in the comments so others can see those, and we'll answer them and they can learn from them also. If you like our content, make sure you subscribe to the channel. If you like the video, give us a like, and we'll see you guys next time.